Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start tonight by setting a very specific mood. If you're listening, just forget the commute, forget the laundry.
Forget the studio lights.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine we are sitting in a living room. It's late, maybe 9 on a Monday night. There's a fireplace going, throwing those long, erratic shadows against the wall.
It's quiet.
Right, but it's the kind of quiet that feels charged. Like the air pressure just dropped right before a storm.
Oh, yeah. That distinct, forbidden library atmosphere. The kind where you feel like you should be whispering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because tonight, we aren't just reading a text. We are cracking open a transcript that documents a fracture in reality.
Yeah.
We're looking at a moment where the narrator of the story, the guide we've learned to trust, gets pushed aside by something much, much bigger.
It's the moment you realize the ghost story isn't actually about the ghost.
Right.
It's about the thing the ghost is afraid of. Or, well, I guess the thing the ghost reports to.
Man, that is a chilling way to put it. Huh. We are doing a deep dive into the Seth Material tonight. Specifically, we're looking at session 408 from the early sessions, book 8.
Recorded on Monday, April 29th, 1968.
Right, 1968. But we aren't just talking about Seth, the energy personality essence that people usually quote. We are talking about the night Seth's boss showed up.
And the implications of that visit are they're massive. We aren't just talking about ghost hierarchies here. This session lays out a technical manual for how knowledge works.
It really does. It challenges the very definition of thinking.
Absolutely.
Real quick, before we get our brains completely rewired, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. This deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We are here to explore the archives, analyze the data, and see exactly where the evidence leads us.
And our mission for this deep dive is twofold. First, we need to witness the anomaly, the arrival of this new speaker. But secondly, and I think more importantly, we need to understand what this entity says about pure knowledge.
Because the claim made in this session is that what you and I call thinking is actually a barrier to understanding.
Which is pretty insulting, frankly.
I know, right? I do a lot of things. I consider myself a professional thinker.
We all do. But apparently, according to this entity, we're doing it wrong. Or doing a very primitive version of it.
All right, let's go back to 1968. Elmira, New York. Jane Roberts and her husband, Robert Butts, set the scene for us. Because this isn't some high-production seance with crystal balls and velvet curtains, is it?
Oh, far from it. It's totally domestic. It's gritty. It's 9 p.m., and the vibe in the room is just heavy. Jane Roberts, who, for those who might be brand new to this, is the medium who channels Seth, is not having a good time.
She's stressed out.
Very. Rob's notes are incredibly specific here. He writes that Jane wasn't particularly in the mood.
That makes it feel so much more real to me. I mean, if you were faking a spiritual revelation, where'd you hype yourself up? Like, oh, the spirits are calling. I feel the energy.
You're right.
But she's just cranky.
She's exhausted. You have to remember, she's an aspiring writer. She's been working hard on her own non-channeled book, and she's anxious because she hasn't heard back from her publishers at Prentice Hall.
Ah, the classic writer's waiting game.
Exactly. She's worried about her career, she's tired, and the absolute last thing she wants to do is sit in a chair and dissociate for 2 hours.
So she's grounded in very human, very ego-based anxieties. She's worried about the rent, the career, the approval of others.
Completely. So she sits there with her eyes closed, holding a pendulum.
Which was their ritual to start sessions back then.
Right, the pendulum, and she's just waiting. 10 minutes go by, dead silence, just the clock ticking and Rob waiting with his pen.
And usually when Seth comes through, it's explosive.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a subtle entrance.
No, it's immediate. Seth is a character. He's dynamic, energetic. Ride usually describes Seth as strong, amused, boisterous. He tosses Jane's glasses aside. He lights a cigarette. He jokes with Rob. He has a very distinct, gravelly, masculine timbre.
He takes up space.
Exactly. When Seth arrives, the room feels smaller because his personality just fills it.
But at 9:10 p.m. on this particular Monday, that is not who starts talking.
No. Rob realizes instantly that something is very wrong. Jane starts speaking, but the voice it's off. Rob describes it as light, pleasant, high, but not falsetto.
That is so eerie.
He uses the words lilting, distant, and formal.
Distant and formal. That is so specific. It sounds like a recording playing from another room, or maybe like someone speaking through a very long pipe.
It creates this immediate psychological distance. Seth feels like he's sitting in the chair next to you having a beer. This new entity feels like it's broadcasting from the moon.
Right.
Rob notes that there are long, agonizing pauses between phrases. Jane's eyes are mostly closed, only fluttering open occasionally. It's like a low bandwidth communication. It feels like the signal is struggling to get through.
And this entity doesn't start with a casual hello to Rob or a joke about the weather. It opens with a disclaimer that feels more like a warning label on high-voltage equipment.
It really does. The opening statement is essential to understanding everything that follows in the session. The entity says that the knowledge it possesses would be incomprehensible to us in its pure form.
Wait, pause there. That's a bold opening move. Basically saying, I have the answers, but you are literally too stupid to understand them.
Well, it's not about stupidity. It's about structural capacity. Think of it as a hardware issue. The
Right.
entity is saying that our physical brains and our language systems are simply too small to hold the raw data. So it introduces the concept of distortion.
Now, usually, distortion is a bad word. If my microphone is distorted, the audio is bad. If a politician distorts the truth, they're lying. But this entity treats distortion as a necessary tool.
Exactly. This is the first major insight of the night. The entity argues that distortion is the mechanism of translation. Imagine you have the entire ocean. That is pure knowledge. Now imagine you want to give that ocean to someone who only has a coffee cup.
You have to leave 99.9% of the ocean behind.
Right. And the water you do manage to get into the cup, it takes the shape of the cup. It's no longer ocean-shaped. It's cup-shaped. That is the distortion. You have to warp the infinite down into the finite just to make it perceivable.
Oh, wow.
Let me give you the exact quote from the session. The entity says, "What might be termed distortion from pure knowledge is often the result of the translations without which you could not receive nor understand the material."
That makes perfect sense. If they gave it to us raw, the pure stuff, it would either fry our neural circuits or just look like static. It would be meaningless.
Exactly. So they have to dress the truth up in words, in metaphors, in linear sentences. And that very act of dressing it up distorts it. It changes the nature of the thing just by explaining it.
That is so humbling. It implies that everything we think we know is just the coffee cup version of reality.
Sure.
We've never actually seen the ocean. We're just trading cups of water back and forth thinking we're marine biologists.
That is a great way to put it. And the entity doubles down on this. It drops a line that completely deconstructs our intellectual pride. It says, "What you call thinking is a dim shadow of true comprehension."
Ouch. That hurts. As I said, I built my whole career on thinking. I like thinking.
Ha! We all do. But look at the mechanics of thinking. What are you actually doing when you think about a tree? Walk me through the process.
Okay, let's see. I'm standing here. The tree is over there. I'm picturing the tree. I'm analyzing its bark, its leaves. I'm recalling facts about photosynthesis. I'm making judgments about whether it's a healthy tree or a dying tree.
Right. You are the subject. The tree is the object. You're standing here looking at the tree over there. There's a gap, a distance. Thinking is the act of observing something from the outside. It requires separation.
Okay, and the entity is saying that's not true comprehension because I'm separate from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The entity defines true comprehension as merging. It says this involves being united with knowledge in a way you cannot now appreciate.
United with knowledge. So instead of looking at the tree, I become the tree.
In a sense, yes. You don't analyze the treeness. You experience it from the inside out. You hold the consciousness of the tree within your own identity. There's no gap, no subject, no object, just knowing. You feel the sap rising. You feel the sunlight hitting the leaves. You don't think about photosynthesis. You do it.
That sounds incredible, but also terrifying. If I merge with a tree, do I stop being me? Do I lose myself?
That is the exact fear that keeps us locked in thinking. We are terrified of losing our boundaries. The entity explains that we cling to our self-structures.
Define that for us. What is a self-structure in this context?
Think of it as your ego or your personality construct. It's the mental box that says, I am a host, I live in the 21st century, I like pizza, I dislike traffic. That structure is a container. It defines you by separating you from everything else. I am me because I'm not you.
So the self-structure is the coffee cup. It holds me together.
Exactly. And you can't merge with the ocean if you insist on keeping the walls of your cup intact. The entity makes a fascinating distinction here between self-structures and identity. It says, self-structures know and do not know that they know.
That's a riddle. They know, but do not know that they know.
But then it follows up with, identity requires no structure. Identity simply knows and knows that it knows.
Okay, help me break this down. What is the practical difference between a structure and an identity?
Let's use a video game analogy. The self-structure is your avatar in the game. It has stats, a name, an inventory. It knows the rules of the game world. It knows how to jump and how to run. But it doesn't know it's a game. It thinks the game is the only reality. It's trapped in the logic of the simulation.
Right. The avatar doesn't know about the living room or the person holding the controller.
Exactly. The identity is the player holding the controller. The player knows they're playing a game. The player contains the avatar, they're controlling it, but is much bigger than the avatar. The player knows that they know. They have a perspective outside the game.
So, this entity is telling Jane that she is the player, but she's so focused on being the avatar Jane Roberts, the writer, that she's forgotten her true nature.
Yes. The entity says that to delve into the concept of yourself, you gladly and willingly, momentarily forget the greater portions of yourself.
We willingly forget. That implies this limitation is a choice. We chose the amnesia.
We chose to be focused. If you are playing a complex, immersive game, you can't be thinking about your taxes or what's for dinner or the nature of the universe. You have to immerse yourself. You have to limit your focus to play the game effectively. We put on the self-structure like a diving suit to explore physical reality.
It's not a diving suit. I like that.
The suit is heavy, it limits our movement, and it muffles our hearing. But without it, we can't function in this environment. We'd be crushed by the pressure of physical life.
That totally recontextualizes the whole thinking as a shadow comment. Thinking is just the clumsy way we communicate through the diving suit. It's like doing hand signals because we can't speak clearly underwater.
Spot on. And this entity is basically radioing down from the boat, saying, hey, just so you remember, the water isn't the whole world.
Now, while Jane is channeling this high-level abstract philosophy, she is experiencing something very physical and bizarre. She describes the cone effect.
Yes, the cone effect. This is the visual representation of that ocean into a cup analogy. While in the trance, Jane's subjective consciousness sees an inverted pyramid or a cone suspended right above her head.
Pointy end down.
Yes. The tick of the cone is touching the top of her head, and she feels a tremendous pressure to align herself perfectly beneath it. She senses that pure knowledge is being poured into the wide end at the top, miles above her.
The ocean again.
And as it travels down the cone, it gets squeezed, compressed, crushed, until it comes out the tip as words.
That sounds painful. Or at least incredibly claustrophobic, like trying to shove a mattress through a keyhole.
It's intense labor. And Jane speculates later that this larger personality, this new speaker, doesn't actually want to use words. She feels like words are way too crude for it. She suspects its natural language is musical notes or tones.
Tones, like vibrations.
Think about the difference between a sentence and a symphony. A sentence is linear. Subject, verb, object. It's digital, it's choppy. A symphony is a wave. It carries emotion, mathematics, structure, and narrative all at once, in a flow. It hits you all over.
So if we were smarter or more evolved, we wouldn't talk to each other, we'd sing. Or just beam vibes at each other.
We would communicate in direct energy transfers, resonance. The entity says inspiration always springs from beyond your system and not within it. It implies that great ideas, music, art, breakthrough science, aren't things we just cook up in our physical brains. They're signals we receive when we align our coordinates correctly.
Coordinates. That's another term the entity uses. It says something like, I am here because you have established the proper coordinates. But they aren't talking about GPS, are they? They aren't saying latitude 42.
No, not at all. In our world, a coordinate is a place in space and time. Meet me at 5th and Main at noon. But for an entity that exists outside of space and time, a coordinate is a state of being. It's a frequency match. It's an emotional and psychological alignment.
So Jane didn't go to a physical place to meet this entity. She tuned her internal radio to the right channel.
Exactly. The entity says it exists within precise coordinates of reality. When Jane's consciousness hits that specific pitch, the channel opens. It's a lock and key mechanism, but the key is mental focus.
And speaking of existing outside of time, the entity drops an absolute bomb about how it perceives time compared to us. It says, to me, a thought is as real as a day to you.
This is one of my favorite concepts in the whole session. Think about your day-to-day. You woke up, you had coffee, maybe you felt a little anxious about an email, then you got busy, then you felt relief. You walked through physical space, you saw the sun move across the sky. It was a vast, multisensory landscape.
Sure. It felt long, had a lot of texture.
To this entity, a single thought has that much geography. It can step inside a fleeting thought of yours and walk around in it for what feels like 24 hours. It can explore the nuances, the origins, the emotional texture of a single split-second idea. It can picnic in your anxiety and hike through your joy.
Man, that makes me feel very self-conscious about my intrusive thoughts. If I have a weird thought, this entity is like, a lovely vacation spot. Let's stay here a while.
It should. It suggests that our internal world is just as real and solid as the external world. We just move through it way too fast to notice the scenery. We treat thoughts like disposable tissues, but to this entity, they are continents.
The entity also claims to be very ancient, and yet what I am is always new, which sounds like a paradox.
It's only a paradox if you believe in linear time. If you exist in the spacious present where past, present, and future are all happening at once, you don't age, you just expand. You are ancient because you contain all your pasts, but you are new because you are constantly creating in the moment.
Okay, so we have this ancient, tone-speaking, time-dilating entity in the room. The vibe is heavy. Jane is barely moving. But the burning question, the elephant in the room, is who is this guy to Seth?
Right, because Seth is the teacher. Seth is the authority figure for them. Is Seth getting fired? Is this a hostile takeover? Is Seth in trouble?
A corporate restructuring of the spirit world. Seth, we're letting you go. Please pack up your desk.
The entity addresses this directly, and it presents a hierarchy that looks a lot like Russian nesting dolls. The new speaker says that Seth is independent, yet part of the new speaker's reality.
Independent, yet part of me.
It says, in your terms, I am a guide he also follows.
Seth has a guru. Even the wisest entity we know has someone he looks up to. That is startling.
It's turtles all the way down, or up in this case. The entity explains that Seth is fully aware of this relationship. Seth knows he is a part of this larger identity, but we, meaning Jane, Rob, and the listeners, are barely aware of our relationship to Seth, let alone this new guy.
So if Seth is a self-structure of this larger entity, does that mean we are self-structures of Seth?
That's the implication. Or at least we are part of the same family tree of consciousness. The entity says he is another aspect of me while being himself. It's the paradox of the holodeck. You can be an individual and a piece of the whole at the same time. You can be a finger on a hand. The finger is distinct. It has a fingerprint, but it is also undeniably the hand.
And then the energy snaps. The session breaks. Jane comes out of trance, probably drinks some water, rubs her face, and when she goes back in,
The boss has left the building.
and the vibe shifts instantly.
Rob notes it immediately. Jane leans forward. Her gestures change. She starts doing the familiar Seth mannerisms, holding the phantom cigarette, looking around the room with those sharp, dark eyes, and that deep, booming voice returns. Good evening.
It must have felt like the sun coming out after a long, dark winter.
Rob describes Seth as strong, much deeper, and immediate. The distance is gone. The choir from a mile away is gone. Your friend is back in the chair. The warmth returns to the room.
And what does Seth have to say about his unexpected guest? Is he embarrassed? Is he apologetic for the scare?
Not at all. He's amused. He loves the drama of it. He says, I see you have received some surprise.
Understatement of the year, Seth. Yes, an alien god just spoke through my wife. Slight surprise.
And then he gives the entity a name, or a title, really. He calls him my big brother.
My big brother. That is strangely endearing. It makes it feel familial, not just bureaucratic.
It softens the cosmic horror of it, doesn't it? Seth jokes about pulling white rabbits out of hats. He's acknowledging that he staged this. He wanted to blow their minds. He says, I have told you I am a teacher, and I have let the principal in the door.
The principal. So Seth is the cool substitute teacher, and the principal just came in to check the lesson plan.
And to make sure the students are paying attention. But Seth immediately pivots to reassurance. He sees that Jane and Rob are rattled. They feel small. They feel like they've just glimpsed something way too big for them.
Right, because if Seth is just a puppet for this bigger thing, does Seth even matter? Do we matter?
Seth addresses that fear head on. He says, very sincerely, I never desert my friends.
Wow, that's a powerful line.
It bridges the metaphysical and the emotional perfectly. He's saying, yes, I am part of a vast multidimensional hierarchy. Yes, I answer to a higher power. But I am also your friend. I'm also here in this room with you. The structure of the universe doesn't negate love or friendship.
He also tries to explain the time paradox, right? Because if this big brother is a larger, more evolved version of Seth, does that mean it's Seth from the future?
Seth admits it's complicated to explain in English. He says, in your terms, I have not reached that point yet. I am not Seth 2 yet.
In your terms. He always uses that as a disclaimer when our language fails.
But he says he is aware of him. This implies a non-linear existence where your future self, the version of you that has already learned the lessons, already evolved, exists right now simultaneously with you.
So my big brother isn't waiting for me in 2050. He's hovering over my timeline right now.
Correct. And potentially guiding you, the intuition you feel. That sudden knowing of what to do, that might be your own Seth to funneling knowledge down the cone.
That is actually really comforting. It makes this life feel like a rigged game, but rigged in my favor. I have a cheat sheet, I just have to listen to it.
That is a very Sethian way to look at it. You are never actually alone, because your own identity is too vast to fit in one room. You are always receiving support from the parts of yourself that have already won the game.
Seth wraps up the session with this fantastic image. He says, if you're on a merry-go-round, you may catch the golden ring.
It's so playful. Life is a merry-go-round. It's repetitive. It goes in circles. It's a ride, and it's supposed to be fun. But he's saying that even in the spinning, even in the repetition of daily life, there are moments where you can reach out and grab the golden ring.
The moment of pure insight. The moment the cone opens up.
Exactly. You catch a glimpse of the principle. You hear the tone instead of the word. And then the ride keeps going. You don't have to get off the ride to understand it. You just have to reach out while you're on it.
So what is the grand takeaway here? We've met the boss. We've been told our thinking is primitive. We've learned about the cone. What do we do with this on a Tuesday morning?
I think it's a call to expand our definition of self. We get so locked into our little boxes, our jobs, our worries, our specific time in history. We defend our self-structures aggressively. But this session blows the walls off the box.
He said the box is just a costume.
Right. It says you are part of a hierarchy of consciousness. You have a Seth, and your Seth has a Seth too, and it goes up and up. We are open systems, not closed ones. We aren't hermetically sealed jars of consciousness.
The idea that thinking is just the shadow, that really stuck with me. It suggests we need to stop trying to intellectually brute force every single answer.
Absolutely. Sometimes you need to stop thinking and start merging. You need to stop analyzing the tree and just be with the tree. You need to listen for the silence between the thoughts. That's where the big brother speaks.
And realize that when we get a great idea, it's not just neurons firing. It's a package being delivered.
From the ocean to the cup?
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like my brain has been stretched a few inches today.
In a good way, I hope.
Definitely. It's humbling, but also incredibly exciting. There's always another level. Just when you think you understand Seth, Seth pulls back the curtain and shows you the galaxy behind him.
Always. There is always more.
Now look, we have done our absolute best to translate the ocean of this session into the coffee cup of this deep dive. But we barely scratched the surface. If this gave you the chills, or if you just want to read the raw data yourself, and you really should because the energy in the syntax is palpable, you need to go to the source.
Yes. We are looking at the early sessions, Book 8. You can find this and all the Seth books at sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
A huge shout out to the New Awareness Network for publishing these and keeping this material alive. They are the guardians of the archives, and they're doing vital work.
Absolutely. Go buy the books, read the original sessions. Don't just take our word for it. Try to align your own coordinates with the text.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with a challenge. We talked about how thinking is just a shadow of knowing. So for the rest of the day, try to catch yourself. Are you just looking at your life from the outside, analyzing it, narrating it to yourself?
Or can you step out of the narrator's booth?
Exactly. Yeah. What would it feel like to stop describing your reality to yourself, even for 10 seconds, and just know it? To merge with the moment.
Silence the narrator and see who else is in the room.
Oh, that's the thought right there.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep your coordinates open.